Starting that. It's 11:03. We'll start right now. So anyway, let's get started. Digital Watchdog about a year ago introduced this product line, and it is a full product line. We have IR illuminators in 2 different flavors. I think it's 904 nanometers, which is invisible IR light, and 850 nanometers, which is visible, so it's the red glow light, and of course the white light illuminators, along with motion detectors that include microwave, PIR, and of course laser. Okay, so these are all products. I think you guys have seen them on our website before, and so we're going to go over a little bit. So first, though, we're going to see quickly what comes in a box of one of the motion detectors, because some people, these are not always on the shelf. Pull the items out of the box. In that little bag in the center there are extra PIR screens, so you can actually aim and point the beam to wherever you want it. Okay, and we're going to talk a little more about that later in the presentation. So you can turn the unit left to right, and actually that is the walk tester. So you have the unit aimed, you can then put it in walk test mode and then walk around and make sure that it's looking at the area you want it to look at. Okay, so that's very important. You don't want it triggering something that maybe not be in view of the camera, or you want it to trigger and have it go and a PTZ camera spin around and do it. And all this can be done with their direct integration from the SiteWatch to Spectrum. So I'm just going to go over some of the features. Standard PoE enabled, PIR and microwave motion detector, 98-foot range. Okay, so that's a really good range for one of these. So you can use it along a fence line because you can narrow the beam in. Has a really good web interface, and it has this curtaining system that allows you to really aim it in there very well. And it has a direct integration, of course, with our DW Spectrum VMS software. So everything's concealed in this little white bubble, so it's very hard to see which way they're pointing. Okay, we have a dual tech version that's PIR and microwave. And so if you look on setup, so there's an optimal example of 10 or so feet. They've got 5 feet, 10 feet, how far the camera will go out. Okay, how it'll measure accuracy. And there's also a setup in here because there's actually a mirror. It's kind of hard to see. There's a mirror in here that you can actually remove for pet detection. So if there's going to be small animals running around the bottom of it, you can actually remove it for that kind of stuff. And again, you're out there 60 feet, you're testing it, making sure it works. The walk tester is a great add-on. Okay, especially if you're doing a number of these across different buildings and stuff like that. It just makes it easier to test rather than maybe trying to see the LED with the units covered off. So when you're setting up one, okay, so this is the web page of the camera. There actually is a way to do it without the web page. I would assume most of you guys would do it with the web page. You can set the range. It's pulse count, and then if you want the detection LED on and off, I assume when it's all done, you turn the LED off, but you could leave the detection LED on, certainly, or you can just run the walk test, okay? And then you can do your measurements, okay? So you can do Fahrenheit and, I don't know why we didn't put centigrade in here. Oops, sorry, go back a little bit. Fahrenheit and standard units of measure. So now we can check our range, okay? Turn on our walk test. We can go for foot and meters. And also it has a digital I/O on it. So you can actually have that thing trigger a hardware I/O. Okay, so you have a range of options that can be done in the web page of the detector. So you can actually go in here, create an event, push test, and it'll turn on an illuminator or send an alert directly to Spectrum. What's nice about this, though, is from SiteWatch to NightWatch. NightWatch is the illuminator. You actually don't need Spectrum for them to communicate. They'll communicate directly. So if you did want to hook these up to an IP Plus, you could plug the detector directly into the IP plus NVR, but you'd still need a PoE injector for the illuminator itself, because it of course draws more power because it's LED lighting. So you can do PIR detection, low light detection. You can have it send out a timer heartbeat to a device, say I'm working, I'm working, I'm working, I'm working, I'm working. Do temperature detection, okay, all from the SiteWatch system, and create events off that, okay? Now, most of the events that we deal with, they go into Spectrum, okay? So you do PIR detection, okay? But you could have the timer heartbeat going into Spectrum and just displaying on one of the cameras every, just say every 10 seconds, and an overlay saying like, motion detector on, or whatever you want to do. So you can actually have it send a heartbeat to Spectrum if you want to, just for monitoring. Network settings, you've got our standard IP settings. You can enable the DNS for it to call out if it has to call out anywhere. There is a control 4 setting where it can actually go in, find the control 4 server as long as local, set it up. You can also increase the security by using a TLS certificate or a private key for HTTPS. So this way, if the site you're at requires higher security, you can go in and put this in here. I'm getting a lot of questions from Kesha. I will answer your questions. Don't worry. Thank you very much. So we will set up. So this is SiteWatch and Spectrum. All righty. So in here, get this to roll here in a second. There we go. Is showing SiteWatch picking up the motion. I'm just sort of showing motion detection with the with Spectrum right now. And then we go in though, and then we're going to go look at how the logging works. So right now we have logging, motion detector, parking lot, but then I'm going to tell it to do a search because we have this one camera picking up a lot of stuff for demo and testing purposes and whatever. And I'm typing in SiteWatch at the top. And so the SiteWatch is now showing all the SiteWatch events that are in here. There's a couple that are AI Argus events showing a camera got tilted, motion from SiteWatch in the back of the building from the motion detector. So you can go into log and type in SiteWatch or however you named it, or if you put a comment in when you name the rule, which we'll show you in a second, and go in and do it. And so this shows a gentleman walking in the back of the building. Okay, and then these little blue areas are your bookmarks. Okay, and we're going to talk a little more about the bookmarks in a second. One more slide. There we go. So when you're setting up the SiteWatch, it's actually very simple. So, and those of you who aren't familiar with Spectrum, we have a Spectrum training course where we can talk about. We're going to talk about at the end. But for those of you who know about the alarm and vent rules, you can go in because now you have that device on your network. Spectrum does not need to see it and create what's called a generic event. And in that device, it'll automatically send us this caption called SiteWatch. Now you can change the caption, the source. You can change, there's a description field and a caption field in the detector, and you can add information to it if you want. And then you can see, look, show on alarm layout. And of course, this is a camera that's tied to our SiteWatch. So it'll force an alarm layout to pop up. But if you look, any of these events can happen in any combination of these events. So you could have 3 generic event rules, 5 generic event rules. One is a bookmark. One forces a PTZ preset to run, okay? Then it's going to send an email, maybe show a text overlay, maybe pop up full screen. So it'll just force that camera up full screen, or force it full screen on an alarm layout, okay? So you could have it do a bunch of different things off one command from the sensor. So again, just a real powerful integration. I'm going to show you the Illuminators later, how that works, but a real powerful integration. And if we go over here, this is showing our motion events that happened from the SiteWatch. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to play one back, and I say, hey, that car looks suspicious. The bookmarking in Spectrum is really good because it allows you this little quick download. So we're going to do a quick download. We're going to change it to MP4 because that's compatible with iPads, it's compatible with Windows, it's compatible with Macs. So it can play back on just about anything without a special player. And we're going to export it. And again, this was exported from Cerritos to Tampa. Actually wound up, see if you want to download that, one of that in my, so now in my local files, I can go in, play it back. So I can use the integration to say, okay, something happened back there. There was people walking around, there's a suspicious car or a truck pulled in, whatever. I now have instant access to the video because I have this overlay, which I can put more information in. So it'll tell me what detector is from, what section of the building. I can then go in and pull that information down very easily because I had it created in a bookmark. So if you want something you want to be able to go back and download better, whether it's from a motion detector, a access control integration, or whatever, if you have it creating bookmarks, it's already found it. You just have to go find that specific event, and then you can download it, back it up, give it to the authorities, archive it in, corporate incident books. But really a great setup. You can also, though, do, I didn't actually show this, HTTP requests. So any IP device that responds to HTTP requests, something happening in the SiteWatch can affect that other device. So in the case of Illuminators, turn them on, turn them off, but you can have it do other things, including maybe trigger an IP addressable lock on a door. So if there's motion, maybe the door at a certain time will automatically unlock, or after a certain time, they've got to use their card swipe. So you can do a lot of stuff with these motion detection units in Spectrum. The Spectrum rules engine is very powerful. So the other piece I want to talk about with SiteWatch is the laser detector, because it is different. Okay, so we've got our motion detectors. We also have our laser detection. Our laser detector shoots a laser, as Dr. Evil down there says, 1,640 feet. Okay, it's designed for large zones. Okay, it is IP65, dust tight, watertight, and runs, of course, on PoE. All right, and it is great for larger installations along fence lines, schools, farms. I mean, one of the places I think we have this at is a lot of these cannabis farms, or actually people that grow hemp. They grow a lot of hemp outside, and for whatever reason, people steal the hemp. I don't know why, but they go in and do it, or intrusions into these big properties, and these can be put along the fence line, and with only one, can go out 1,600 feet and detect events. So one of the features is it has 20 independent zones. So you could have cameras on a building, on a structure, a pole. You could have lights, whatever. And as these zones are violated, you could have a combination of elements go in and take a look at the area where the event was triggered. So the laser detector works on 905 nanometers, which is eye safe. You should use a class 2 PoE. All right, and it's really resistant to false alarm. There's actually a weather mode in it you can put in that'll keep, of course, false alarms if it's snowing real hard or raining real hard from creating false alarms. So in here is a little movie that shows a marina. This is one of the applications where it's put. I actually have another one that one of our sales managers created. And this just shows we have a couple laser detectors. We created different zones in here. We have some PTZ cameras and maybe some lights that can be triggered on here. And, boats are valuable. They cost a lot of money. And people, might get upset if someone fools around with them. Okay. So we're going to have a little video of our little boat coming in here. Going a little fast for me. And we have the PTZ camera swinging when they pull in. You could have a PTZ camera or two as they pull into their dock, light pull up, and maybe even other cameras up along the dock triggered to make sure that that was the person who who was supposed to be using that boat, or a boat was stolen. So there's a lot of things you can do with these in these huge areas. Okay. So got another marina example for you. All right. And so this is a screenshot from it. So the laser detected this going by. And what our sales manager had done was created 3 zones in this marina near where he lives. Put his laser detector in a laser beam straight across here. And then we'll just show you a little video demonstration. And you can see he has it bookmarking down there. It'll come back. I'll show you in a second. Bookmarking down below. And so this is the first area, the guy walking by these things. PTZ camera kicked in. And then we're going to fast forward through the rest of this to get to the one that happened at about 4:43. I don't know how GoToMeeting is translating this. So now triggering zone 10 to 40 feet. Oh, 10 to 40 meters, sorry. And someone pulling out their boat, and it triggered that event. So again, it's creating a bookmark and running the PTZ, okay? And you can have it do other stuff. Maybe someone said their boat's on vacation, so if it moves out of its dock, maybe there's an alert created there. That's 40 to 100 meters. And this gentleman is driving his boat through there. And it's going and triggering and zoom in. And you could also, of course, have it zoom in a little tighter. You could, of course, have a camera on the other side that takes over. It doesn't have to be one camera. So you can see that this is a really nice way to cover a large area with motion detection. So let's talk a little bit about setup. So first off, challenging lighting conditions don't affect it. Even though it's a laser and you'd figure maybe the bright sun would affect it, it's more important to get your cameras pointed right and, you know, set up for challenging lighting position than it is the laser. Okay, so there's a computer in here, and rain does affect detection probability, but it's usually over 300 meters, which is somewhere around 900 feet on small objects, and very few false alarms on rain. Snow, the same way. We have a lot of customers up in Canada, Quebec specifically, BC, and those places can get boatloads of snow. So, you know, as it says, greater than 300 people, small objects such as people. The false alarm rate, though, is kept low by the weather filter in there. Okay. Fog can reduce the sensor rate, okay, because it's fog, it's in there, and wind and vibration. So it's mounting the thing right. If it's on some kind of janky pole and it's going back and forth, you'll get false alarms with it. So you've got to mount it very well. But because of the fact that most of these sites you're doing want very good protection and want these things to work, I don't see anyone balking at the fact that you're, you know, going to put this in and have to put in some heavy duty thing for it to make sure it doesn't shake. All right. Configuring this thing is very easy. On all these devices, the default IP is 192.168.0.10 or 0.80. Okay. So you can go in and do it and log in. Usually the default username and password is admin. Matter of fact, all the time it's admin, so you can go in and set it. As always, set a much stronger default username and password. Alrighty, keep that in mind. So, if you look at the camera, there's a couple things. First off, you got 20 zones you can set up that can react to anything. But as the laser sensor goes out, so it goes 1,600 feet, it'll get to about 1 meter wide. Okay, so at the very end, it's a fan shape, but it's a very tiny fan at 1,600 feet. So it's very accurate. So even at the end of its run, someone, climbs over the fence, it's going to grab them. Okay, so it's not going to get too wide where it can't detect them. All right, the way the laser works, the reflected light, the way it's designed to work, very high accuracy. So one of the reasons why, like I said, we sold into a lot of these cannabis operations and other places where there is expensive gear. You can have overlapping zones. Okay, so you can have a zone A overlapping zone B and C. So you can create alarms on different areas of interest within a zone. Okay, so you can really fine tune where a camera is going to turn to, where the light's going to turn on, and all this other stuff. So this may be, zone A may be where a camera is triggered, but zone B and C might be lights turning on. Or zone D might be where a PTZ camera has to zoom in because it's further off than the other stuff. So again, you can make up 20 of these zones. So each zone can have a multi-sensor fixed and PTZ cameras on it. Doesn't matter the number of cameras. The events are processed through spectrum. So you could have one event on, we'll just call it zone 3, and you could have an email sent. You could have a PTZ camera swing around. You could tell a fixed camera to start recording at 30 frames a second. We actually have one camera that'll record 60 frames a second if you want some higher frame rate video. You can have it bookmark. You can have it create an overlay. You can do all kinds of things with the events coming from the camera. So you can get a really good read on what's going out. These things generally in the installations, there's someone watching it or someone wants something to, email to them. You're going to see in, I think it's a week, might be a week and a half. We're going to do a sneak peek of Spectrum's 4.1, and one of the things is going to push to the mobile app. So now you can have, let's just say zone 7, push to someone's mobile app to its most critical area. So again, you can do all kinds of different things with the rules engine in Spectrum. So let's talk a little bit about Illuminators, okay? Because it's actually one of the more interesting things, because it really does, these Illuminators really do enhance your installation, making your cameras look better, making everything work better. And we make 3 different ones, white light, and 2 different IR ones. They do require PoE plus, okay? So either use an injector or a very good switch that's PoE plus to run them, all right? Don't plug them into a regular PoE switch. Make sure you got your wattage on there. And because these things can draw more power, I would have a bigger UPS on them. So when they do draw, that the switch, the UPS, everything will still record, the lights will go on, and whatever, normally for as long a period of time as you need. So a good UPS, line interactive, all this stuff should be regular anyway. Do with this product, because you want these lights to come on, stay on for as long as on here. Now, so I've got a lot of information on here. So first off, you look at the back of one of these. Of course, you got a bracket, you've got a pressure release valve, you got your Ethernet cable, you've got a reset button, and you even got a little sort of indicator LED that everything should be working right, or it'll flash if it's underpowered. Okay, so if you do hook it up to the wrong thing, or you get an injector from somewhere and they said it did X and did Y. So again, my thing to you is go find a brand of switches that you know the menus on, you know how they work, you know the quirks, you know their tech support. I'm not going to recommend anything, but I'm going to tell you that you guys have to have one brand that you know, so this way you can go in and you know how to program it, you know how to look at the logs and everything on it, because the switch will tell you a lot about what's going on in the network with cameras, with devices like this, with your VMS. It'll allow you to go in and troubleshoot anything weird happens. You'll troubleshoot it much easier. So let's go see what's in a box with one of these. So sorry for a little bit of camera shake there. So of course we've got our country of origin, which is the United Kingdom. All these products are manufactured in the United Kingdom. So I'm going to struggle to open a box because, getting weak in my old age, I guess. And we've got our bracket in that box, I do believe. The illuminator. And at the very bottom here is something that's very important. And these are our diffusers, okay? So built into it, 10 degree, okay, so it'll do 10 degree, which is like a spot, 20 degrees a little wider, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 95 degrees a little wider. I've got some examples of what these things do. These are very important, so don't lose them. Don't throw them out. Don't give them to your kid, you know, because they'll actually be very important and help you with your install. Got a little manual, tells you the default IP, the default username and password. Like I said, it's admin. And we're going to talk about those more in a minute. So first off is you have your event item. So you can actually have this thing on low light, still send information to Spectrum. Okay, so this thing has an event engine built into it if it's needed to be sent somewhere. So I can add an event, you know, low light detection. I can send the timer heartbeat. Someone tampers with it, okay? And there's also tampering in the SiteWatch, okay? I can go in, create a tamper event. Now, tamper event is someone shaking, pulling on it, trying to pull it down, of course. I can set my event, add an event, and that will actually go into Spectrum, okay? I also got trigger and alarm out, okay? If you notice, I've got direct connection to Spectrum VMS, another Illuminator, or I could have SiteWatch come in and trigger it. You see, here's our source, NightWatch. I could put more information, caption, and description. Okay, so I'm going to say this is a tamper alert. So I have that in Spectrum. And it'll come up in it. Andrew's asked me a few questions. I will answer those at the end, Andrew. Thank you for asking the questions. Same with you, Aaron. So again, low light detection. They want to have the alert go into Spectrum so you know an area that maybe is not supposed to get low light has low light. And all of a sudden, Spectrum goes in and this thing turns on. Or if there's low light when there's not supposed to be low light. And of course, you can trigger the alarm outputs. There's Bosch illuminators. There's all kinds of options in here. So again, network settings are the same as the SiteWatch. Okay. Again, higher security networks. You can use HTTPS certificates. You can use TLS encryption. This way, everything's talking back and forth in an encrypted manner. You can give this also different host names. I didn't show you that in the SiteWatch. You can actually give a name like Northwest Corner if you want, or you know, security room, server room, stuff like that. So here is where you do your LED setting. So you have your standard power setting, your energy save setting. So maybe this light's on from dusk till dawn and energy save. But then when certain events happen, so you have video analytics on camera X, triggers it and it goes to standard power mode. But if someone opens a gate, throws a switch, throws one of the motion detectors, maybe for a while they'll go into boost mode and you can set it for boost mode. Now I actually crank it down to like 92%, you know, not 100% because, you know, you can only run it so long at 100%. So, but you can set the boost time. You can also set a strobe. So it goes to low light, to standard power, and if someone violates another section, then it goes into strobe, which is supremely annoying. It's a very fast strobe, so you can go in and actually view that. So again, we've got our VMS, going to the VMS for tampering. We're going to go in here. So you can set your sliders for wherever you want. Standard power at, energy save mode, maybe it's a little lower. I always lower it just a little bit on the boost mode. And you can turn on and off the light to test it from there to make sure it's where energy save mode looks. So you got the right coverage, boost, and of course strobe mode. Okay, you can even trigger the I/O from here, make sure all that's working. And so then we can go into Spectrum. Okay, and here's one where we can just go in and click on, turn on a light in the server room, and turn it off. Okay, but we could have a switch on that door that every time that server room door is open, that light turns on. Okay, or it goes into a strobe mode for 3 or 4 seconds. And over here, I'm just going to give you a little taste of where the programming is. Go up. Slow here. There we go. Go up, and we've got our turn white light on. NightWatch demo. That happens to be a soft trigger, which does an HTTP request, which affects that command, which turns on the light, and then we have another one that turns off the light. Okay, so that one's very simple. Those of you that are doing a demo, need access to a demo, by all means, let us know, and we'll get you access to a demo if you want to do a quick demo for someone, or we can have one of our sales reps come to you. So I remember I was showing you I was turning on and off the lights on the software on the web page. This is what I'm doing here. So I'm in, I think, standard mode here, and then I'm going to energy save mode. It's a little lower. Then I'm going to boost mode. But see how the WDR, the camera actually grabs it? And of course, that's strobe mode. I probably annoyed my neighbors a little bit because strobe mode is like kind of like very disco, I guess. And then we went back to energy save mode and then turned off. And if you noticed, I had, I'll just drive this thing back a couple of frames here. I also had some, there we go, turn on and off from here. So I could go energy save mode, bright, boost mode, turn on and off, all on also that menu, okay? So in the box, we have these different diffusers. So what do these diffusers do? Number one, don't throw them out. Very important, okay? So we've got 20, 30, 60, 80, 90. And so we're going to go through and show you this. So this is no diffuser. And if you notice, it's a spot, okay? So this is really good for something that's far off. You want to illuminate it. So you crank the thing up. Something would be, you know, if I wanted, I guess, to annoy the neighbors over here, I can point it in their window and keep them awake, right? All right. So these are, of course, the white lights. The IR ones work the same way, but of course they work in infrared, and we have two versions of that. One is 850 nanometers, and the other one is 940 nanometers, and that's invisible IR. It doesn't glow red. The 851 glows red. So this is, I have to use the white light illuminator. I think for when I was doing it with it when I was testing it, it was better, more a little more dramatic to show you. So this is the 20 diffuser. So you notice it's not a spot anymore. It's 20 degrees off. I actually had the camera pointing obviously straight ahead this way, but the actual illuminator was over here. So it's actually spreading out that way, okay, because there's just nowhere to mount it, vice versa with each other. So maybe that one is spreading out this way if you notice, okay. And then this is a 30, okay, so now it's spread. I really like the 31, so if I had a camera and those mounted together, 30 would be great. But I think by default, you guys should be putting in the 90, okay? That's the 90. Oh, sorry. That's the 90. That was the 60. This is the 90. Goes all the way over to here. Spread is almost all the way over here. Again, if I had them mounted together, it just gives you the best overall view. If you have 4mm or 6mm view, or you have a PTZ camera, of course you could have motion detector, you know, turn on and trigger the camera to turn on also. So that's what you use those diffusers for. So very specific function for those things, but it helps enhance the light without having to have anything built into the camera to complicate the setup. So again, that's default. I mean, again, if you're just pointing at something, you know, way away, that's very good. But I'd say by default, go to the 90-degree diffuser. All right, and so now we're going to go look at programming these. So I have soft triggers set up for these on the unit I was testing, okay? And I can have these soft triggers do all the stuff I showed you before. Full screen pop-up, whatever. But because these are buttons, I want it to do something physical, like turn on and off the light. So when I go in and do a soft trigger, I've got my camera over here. I've chosen all users, so any user can use it, but I could limit it to just a specific user would actually see the button and be able to operate it. I've got my title. I got a little icon for it, so turn the light on. And then this is the string you need. It's the HTTP. You've got your // you've got your IP address, NightWatch LED standard state on. And that turns on the standard state, which I think I'd mine set for 36 power, okay? And then your username and password. Now you can create other usernames and passwords for these, okay? And you can set so the soft trigger or the event that's triggered only works on a schedule because it's the light. We figured it only come on at night, so we can just say the rest of the time these soft triggers don't work. Don't want to waste electricity, whatever. But after 8:30 at night, these soft triggers will work so people can turn on and off light. And if you notice, there's a bunch of icons in here because there's doors, you can do gates, anything physical that you can make IP addressable can be run by these rules. So just keep that in mind. And these anything that can handle an HTTP request can be handled by these rules, and you can create manual functions or automatic functions, even some logic functions in the Spectrum rules engine. So again, just to keep it in mind, it is a powerful functionality built into Spectrum for all the different devices. So let's talk a little bit about the DW website. So first things first, if you go to the main page over here and you click and type in, you want to know about Pathfinder or password reset, you can do it, but we have hundreds of articles in here about how to do different things. So just keep that in mind. You go to the main website, you double click on support, you go to this page and you can pull up an FAQ. I actually had to look up something a little earlier on that. And there we go. So on our FAQ page is our manufacturing compliance with the NDAA and TAA, making these things very eligible for your GSA scheduling contracts, government purchases, stuff like that. You can go into the article. We have it on the web page, our compliance statement. It has a list of all the products on. These products happen to be on there because they are manufactured in the UK, so there is no problem with any of the things coming from China. We have, I believe, nothing now made in China. Everything is South Korea, Vietnam, or Taiwan. Okay, where we have it. The manufacturing we actually own South Korea and Vietnam, and you can go in and take a look at it. And this is important because there's a lot of federal money floating around out there, and if you use federal money on a project, you've got to use stuff that's NDAA compliant. So just keep that in mind when you're out there doing stuff. Over here, we've got our list of webinars. We've got our SiteWatch, NightWatch. We've got BriefCam and Doorbird coming up on Tuesday, a 4.1 sneak peek, and any of our older ones, you want to go take a look. Thermal radar, which detects fire and heat and all kinds of stuff. You can look at that one. We've got a little older new product update, 4K cameras. We're releasing just all kinds of different items on our website for you guys to look at and get more information on. Also, go to the website and sign up for the email updates. I have neglected this in my past webinars. I'm not going to do it anymore because the email updates will send you our blog posts. Some of these can be very interesting. Of course, we're talking about webinars, okay? But also, if we update a manual or quick start guide, if we get a firmware update, something like that, you can say, oh yeah, it's Starlight Plus cameras. I think I have one of those. Make sure I have the latest firmware in them for a customer. Or maybe you've been waiting for a firmware from us because the firmware does X. You'll get notified of it. So again, you can sign up for that on our website also. And now we're going to go to Q&A, guys.